What is up, Soul Fam? It's Sundal from Substance Over Style, and today I'm coming at you from Seminyak, Bali. So I'm no longer in Ubud like I was in the last video. I'm back at my villa in Bali, and so yeah, hence the attire. It's very, very hot here. And I'm just going to apologise in advance if you hear any people talking in the background, because we've got some workers working on the pool at the moment. So today I want to talk to you about connecting with your spirit guides, your angels, ancestral guides, all of that. Now, this is a topic that I've kind of put off talking for a long time because it's extremely woo. I've kind of peppered it throughout, you know, some of my previous videos, but now I'm going to do a dedicated video talking about it because I've kind of been guided to through conversation with them, and I want to kind of give you some top tips on how you can connect with your guides and your angelics as well. Okay, so I've written down some notes as always, super prepared. So yes, the number one most primary important thing for connecting with your guides is your intention. Now, you have to want to connect with your guides in order to be able to open up the channels of communication with them, because they will not, they will always respect your free will, and they will not intervene with your process and with your journey unless you ask them to, and unless you choose, even on a subconscious level, to receive that guidance. So number one is you just have to want it just within yourself, and you have to ask that guidance. So you just ask, you know, in your own mind, in your prayers or in your affirmations, or any kind of, you know, communing that you do with a higher power, with God, Allah, Yahweh, Jehovah, you know, universal energy, source consciousness, whatever language you want to put on that. Ask for the guidance. Then you have to be open to receiving that guidance. It's very simple. It's all just up here. The universe is mental, right? So it all starts and ends up here. So yeah, keep an open mind, an open heart, open eyes, and be open to receiving those messages. They can come in many different forms, and I'm going to list some of the ways in which I receive guidance. It might not be the same for you. It really depends on who you are, where you live, what kind of media you consume, you know, what your day-to-day is like. Your guides will communicate in a way that it is meaningful for you specifically. So for me personally, my main form of communication with my guides, and I'm in like pretty much constant contact with them, like I will receive a message from them at least once an hour, if not more than that. And it usually always comes in the form of numbers. Now, I've been receiving these angelic numbers for sort of in the region of about 7 or 8 years now. And I've talked about it before. Like, they started off with, you know, one specific repeating number that I would see everywhere, and I would see it so much that it really, really started to grab my attention. Why am I seeing this number? And it was 69 as well, which is kind of like, you know, it's a funny number, you know, because of what it means. So it grabbed my attention, and I just started seeing it everywhere, just to ridiculous levels. And then I met another model. This was when I was living in Bangkok modeling there, and I met another male model who was with my agency, and he'd also been seeing the same number. So I was just kind of talking about it to different people, like, I've been seeing this number everywhere. It was always showing up on the taxi meter. For him, it was always his battery life. He would always see, like, his battery would be 69%. I would see it on phone numbers. I would see it on people's t-shirts. I was seeing it on door numbers, just everywhere. Like the time, no, not the time, because obviously it's never 69 minutes past. It makes no sense whatsoever. But then after 69, at that time, I had a mentor who actually was another model. He was a male model, one of my best friends, Christopher. If you're watching, big love, miss you. But yeah, we were really, really good friends, and he was at that time quite a bit more spiritually advanced than me, so he kind of exacerbated my spiritual growth quite exponentially. And then we, you know, it's always interesting, like there's a moment when the student will become the teacher and things will kind of level out a bit, and that's, you know, the point that every one of you is going to get to, you know, when you're seeking guidance from other teachers. the point of a spiritual teacher is always to help you find your own inner teacher, your own inner guru. So that's what he did for me. But he was seeing 1111 a lot of the time. And then I started shortly after that seeing 1111, then 2222. Recently I've been receiving a lot of 333s, which is the number of the Ascended Masters. It's also the number of Jacob's Ladder, which is basically your spinal column. The number of bones in your spinal column is 33. That's why it's a master number in Freemasonry. And it's the reason why it's connected to the Ascended Masters is because like one of the Ascended Masters is someone we refer to as Jesus Christ or Yeshua, which was his supposedly his original name. But the word Christ just means Christos, so spinal fluid. It's the Kundalini rising up the spine that kind of activates that Christ consciousness within each human being, within the temple of the human body. So the reason why they communicate in numbers is primarily because at this time in our collective history we are looking at devices a lot. We're basically ruled, we're in a dimension which is ruled by Saturnian energy, and Saturn also in the Roman tradition was also Kronos in the Greek tradition, the god of time, also known as Satan. So, you know, this idea that we're enslaved and trapped within this dimension where we're ruled by time. So time is, you know, is a way that your guides will communicate with you. Like often you'll see the time and they'll be, you know, repeating numbers. It could be, you know, 1331 or 30. Anything that catches your attention that you keep on seeing enough for it to be significant, look up the meaning of the number, because numbers contain, they basically, each number has an energy signature. We live in a mathematical universe, right? So each number has a frequency, a vibration, almost like a thought. So it basically has, what have I written down? Yeah, it's basically like a transmission with various attributes. So the 0 is like the nothing, the all, the infinite, the pure potentiality, like the God consciousness, like nothing. It's basically buzzing with creative potential, because from nothing can emerge something. Then the 1 is that which emerges. It's the 1, the, you know, the universal consciousness, unity consciousness is also the masculine principle. The 0 is the feminine principle, because it's like a void, a black hole. The 1 is like a lingam. So 2 is duality. It's about the yin and the yang. So, you know, all of these numbers have different attributes. Like I said, 3 is like creativity, because it's like childbirth, like the 2 become 3. So that's basically the way that the universe is constructed. You know, everything is, you know, got this primordial energy. Everything's mathematical, basically. I don't want to go off on a tangent and get really, really deep into stuff, but learn how to decode different numbers if you find yourself seeing repeating numbers. So you can just go to Google and search angel number 214, if that's the one that you keep on seeing, or it keeps on appearing to you, and then it will decode the numbers for you and translate the message for you, or you can just learn how to do it yourself, because these things are kind of open to interpretation, because language is again something that I'm not going to go too deep into language right now, because we're going to go like too far off base. But yeah, I like Sacred Scribes. That's my favorite website for decoding numbers, and I really like the messages that come through there. There's a few others as well, but that's the one that I found to be the one that's the messages resonate most with my journey and the guidance that I'm looking to receive at that time. Okay, they may communicate with you through actual words and phrases. So it could be, you know, you ask a question to your guides, like where should I travel to next, for example, and then you might hear the answer in song lyrics, or you might see it on a advertising billboard, or maybe in scripture. Like if you follow any particular religion or tradition, you might find it in the Bible or the Quran. You might open it to a certain page and the words might just jump out to you, and you'll know it because you'll feel it within your body. So you need, also in this process, you need to learn to trust the somatic intelligence of your body, because your body is your subconscious mind. Okay. Yes, and they may also communicate with you via your thoughts and your inspiration. So basically, especially if your spirit guides are your ancestors, they literally are you. Like, you've inherited your DNA from them. So you actually carry their consciousness within you. You're as much them as you are you, because every 7 years your cells and everything that makes up your physical body is completely renewed from, you know, the food that you eat and the prana and everything that you consume. You're now renewed. So the only thing that actually keeps you consistently you is your DNA, which you get from your ancestors. So in that way, you are your ancestors as much as you are you. So they will have encoded certain messages and guidance and, you know, lost ancient knowledge within your DNA, and you can tap into that through meditation, or even just by, you know, tuning into your own creative inspirations and visions, and, you know, however you receive divine guidance through your mind. So for me, sometimes I'll have actual conversations in my head with them. And it may be through words, or it may be just a feeling, or it may be a vision. A lot of the time, and especially because of all the clearing out of my temple that I've been doing over the last couple of years, for, you know, using various visualization techniques, inner child healing, womb healing, all of this work, my channels are a lot more clear than they used to be, and I've been receiving so many creative downloads and visions of how my future's going to pan out and what I'm here to do. So you'll get business ideas, you'll get, you know, all kinds of inspiration about, like, maybe what you're going to do this weekend, and that will set you on a path where you're going to meet somebody who's going to assist you in your mission. So you have to be open to receiving that guidance and listening to, again, the somatic intelligence of your body and your gut, and follow those inspirations and follow those gut feelings, basically. Yeah, what else did I also wrote here, yeah, about communicating with your ancestral guides. You know, so I was talking to somebody who is more of like from the religious school of thought, that said that it's not considered wise to commune with the dead. Now, I'm not 100% convinced on this, because in this dimension that we exist, that we are perceiving, this 3 or 4D dimension, we're trapped in the illusion of time. Outside of this dimension, time doesn't exist. We just perceive time as a linear construct. So I don't believe that your ancestors are dead. I believe that they are existing, and they're multidimensional, and they exist throughout, you know, throughout different dimensions and different parallel universes. So when you're communicating with them, you are communicating with, you know, all the different aspects of who they are and who you are, you know. And I know some people are going to say, well, you know, how do you not know that it's just you talking to yourself? It's all you, fam. It's all you. This entire universe is you creating all of this for your own awakening and your own expansion and your own learning and your own experience. So make it up. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all you. There is no separation. I talked about this in my videos, soulmates, soul streams, twin flames, karmic relationships. Click on my videos and scroll down. I'm wearing like an orange shirt, and you can watch that, because I explain how it's all you and there is no separation. Or you can read The Divine Matrix by Greg Braden. He goes into like the scientific background, explaining how there is no separation and it's all just one big field of divine intelligence, and we're all just like waves within it. So yeah, it is all you. Okay. They may also communicate with you in dream symbols. So dream work is really huge. I try and stick to a regular dream analysis practice. I try and make it part of my morning routine, but sometimes I'm too busy in the morning, and like if I've got somewhere to be, then don't want to necessarily do it, but also I tend to have quite sometimes quite traumatic dreams or quite disturbing dreams, and so I find it a little bit difficult writing them and remembering them. So a lot of the time in the morning I will just like wake up and I'll tell a friend of mine what I dreamt about. Like if I have a conversation with somebody in the morning, if it's my mom or a friend, then I'll just be like, oh my god, I had this dream, and then I find verbalizing the dream or putting it into words or putting it into a journal can really help you to remember it. And the more you start to remember your dreams, the more you will continue to remember and the more detailed they will become. And then you might notice recurring themes coming up, because dream symbols, there's a reason why dream symbols are universal, and it's because we're all tapped in at the deepest levels of the subconscious mind. We're all tapped into the same consciousness. So that's why dream symbols can be universal, but at the same time they mean different things to different people at this level. So like, for example, if you had a dream that you were a professional fashion model and you were walking in a runway show, it might mean, you know, one thing, but for me it would mean something completely different, because I am a professional model and I do travel the world and work and do runway shows and stuff like that. So for me it's just about having a dream about me at work, whereas for somebody who doesn't do that for a living, who maybe aspires to do that for a living, the dream can have a different meaning. So yeah, learn also to decode the messages that are being left for you in dreams, because that's your guides or your higher self leaving you clues about what's going on in your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is the big mind, it's the all. So it's important to know what's going on there. Yeah, so sorry, I'm just getting a bit distracted by my notes because they're really good and they've got some gems there. Yeah, so sometimes the thoughts and guidance and inspiration that you're receiving and downloading into your mind, or into your consciousness rather, are actually left from your future self, which I know, mind blown, right? So I talked about this in the video, when you get triggered, do this. It's like I'm wearing like a whitish blue shirt and I'm going like that in the video thumbnail, and it's like an inner child, it's an instruction on how to do inner child work or inner child regression therapy on yourself. It's a really, really powerful technique for just healing your subconscious triggers, and you know that are in your energy field, in your subconscious, basically trapped in your your energy field. I've already said that. But it can also help you jump timelines, so you can actually quantum leap into a parallel universe in which the trauma that you're revisiting was lessened. So it's a really, really powerful healing technique. But yeah, so sometimes when you're receiving that guidance, it could actually be your future self doing the healing on who you are now at this time that you're asking for the guidance, and giving you that guidance, telling you what you don't yet know. So I think I talked in that video about how, like, sometimes when you receive visions and things like that, it's actually a future memory. So yeah, that's what it is, like your divine visions that you're receiving in creative visualization of what you hope to manifest. Like, let's say you want to live on a tropical island like Bali in a beautiful bamboo house, and you keep on getting repeating visions of this thing. That could be, and is most likely going to be, a future memory. It could be in a different timeline, and you may not actually get to experience it if you don't get on that path. But that's where belief comes in, like believing that you deserve something and that you can have it and that you can manifest it is really important. I wanted to share with you a story. I was talking to this guy recently who basically about the future self thing, where he basically did a plant medicine journey, and in that journey he basically visited, he found himself in this place and staring out through a mirror at a child who he then recognized to be himself, and and it was at different, very difficult, traumatic times of his life. And so he was there just kind of like giving his younger self like guidance and support and counsel for the challenging experience that he was going through. And he said that like he was able to remember times when he was at that age, when he would talk to an imaginary friend in the mirror and didn't realize that it was actually his older self in the future giving him counsel that everything's going to be all right. And then get this, it was even more crazy after that. He actually started to remember certain traumas that his mother had even been through before he was born, because they're encoded in his DNA. So yeah, that was a really interesting story that I heard the other day. Okay, now number one, and I really hope that you are still listening, those of you who are still listening, this is a really, really important one, to always use discernment. Always, always, always trust your gut, because when you are opening yourself up, sometimes, you know, it may not be a benevolent entity who's putting certain thoughts in your mind, you know, like there are lower dimensional entities that will feed on your thoughts, feed on your fears, and feed on your subconscious limiting beliefs. That's why doing the inner child work and working on your limiting beliefs is so, so important, because if you still have those lurking in your energy field, certain entities basically like to feed on them. They're like an energetic snack for them. So you always need to trust your own gut, and trust your own feelings, and always move towards a feeling that feels better, basically. So anger feels better than despair. So, you know, if you need to get angry, you know, like there's a spectrum of like different emotions and the frequency at which all of those vibrate. So, you know, don't like listen to people who say that anger is useless and it's not spiritual to get angry, because if you're in despair, then anger is actually a higher vibrational emotion. So, you know, just trust your own feelings, trust your own intuition. Remember that you are sovereign, and nobody, whether they have a body or not, if they're a, you know, a spiritual entity who's giving you guidance, you do not have to listen to it. Like, I don't care what anybody says, you do not have to listen to it. You are always sovereign. None but the Most High. Any spiritual entity, even like a Christ conscious entity, even like an angelic or an ascended master, is not the Most High. Like, we're all connected to the Most High, we all come from the Most Source, but like from the same source, but they are still going to have their subjective perspectives and own interpretations on something. So they're not the most absolute truth. You know, the truth is always somewhere there in the middle, but any entity that kind of branches off is going to be somewhere to the side. So if you feel like, you know, the guidance that you're receiving is not right for you at that time, you don't have to listen to it, you don't have to act on it right away. So always remember your sovereignty, and don't be afraid to claim your sovereignty. Don't be afraid to put to see yourself as an equal, as a human being. You know, these people, these entities aren't above you, okay? Like, we exist at multiple levels of consciousness, and these physical vessels are actually just conduits to experience all the different aspects and, you know, of who we are at all levels of consciousness. So don't feel like that as a human being that you're lesser than them and they're above you, because that, I just don't think that that is the case. Okay, and the last way that they may communicate with you, well, it's not, this is not an exclusive, exhaustive list. Like, feel free to share your own ideas and experiences in the comment box below, because I'm really open to hearing from all of you, because we're all just feeding each other home. And this is one of my favorites, is animals. I love animals, and animals are really, really powerful totems and spiritual messengers. And the reason why they are so powerful, as anyone who has worked with kind of plant spirit medicines and entheogens will have witnessed or experienced, animals, like plants, but not in exactly the same way, but similarly to plants, are a collective intelligence. So they're like a hive mind. Humans are as well, but we're kind of cut off from that. But animals are much more in tune with their collective consciousness. So all frogs will have a collective frog spirit, all geckos will have a collective gecko spirit. All rats, all dogs, all cats, you know, all these animals, they basically are tapped in to their, you know, collective consciousness. So sometimes when you need to receive. Okay, so animals will. Sorry, I just got interrupted. Animals will, when you need to receive divine guidance, animals will appear to you as messengers. So butterflies may indicate transformation. Geckos, like I've been seeing a lot of geckos recently, rats, cockroaches, you know, like I had a period where, like, over the course of like 3 or 4 days, I saw, like, we found 2 baby rats under the bed. Gecko, like 2 massive tocoid geckos fell off the bed and nearly fell onto our heads. You know, landed on the floor with a huge thud, and then the next day there was like a small baby gecko outside my bedroom that was dead. And then there was a cockroach made a very strange appearance in the bathroom, died, then came back to life, and then the next day I came home and he was dead in my coffee cup. So, and I looked up the meaning of these animals, and they all have very, very similar traits and kind of spiritual meanings, that they're, you know, it's about, you know, surviving through adverse circumstances, being very resourceful, industrious, a lot to do with business acumen, because that was when I was really, really having to like hustle and get work to kind of really push and get my website developed, and you know, I was having to kind of put myself out there to try and manifest some resources in abundance. So it was a really well-timed message. And then over the last few days, I've also been seeing quite a few geckos and dogs. Dogs are interesting as well. So yeah, if you've been, you know, seeing animals and it kind of has sparked something, some curiosity within you, look it up, look up the meaning of it, because maybe it's a guide, a spirit guide, or an angelic trying to give you some support and guidance and counsel on your journey. So yeah, I hope those helped you, and I would love for you to leave me a comment if you've had any communication with your guides, or if you have any questions, let me know. I'm also available for Skype consultations, so if you want to discuss that, then you can just contact me on Instagram. It's at Ishtar the Moon, and we can take it from there. And I will love you and leave you. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.